productive way that the board will find useful. In our last meeting, I think we kind of cut the policy discussion really short. So I think that a good start to building the agenda would be to revisit our policy development process in a more robust and where we have a little bit more time to discuss and kind of look through how the new development process is going. And at that point, we'll be about 3 months into the new process. So that's one agenda idea. But if you have others, please feel free to reach out and let me know. Dr. Evans, do you have anything?
I do not, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So we will now move to item 4, policy. First on the list is policy GBRH, professional personnel leave and absences, and the action is to approve the revisions. If you remember, we've been going back and forth with these revisions for several months now. So at this point, we should be on solid ground with the language, but I'm open to the floor, a motion on the floor so we can open for discussion. Oh, well, no, we don't need a motion. Does anybody have any thoughts, comments, questions about the new language?
I would like to consider us putting that on the consent agenda.
Okay. Before that, Dr. Gant does have a question. She just raised her hand.
I'm sorry, I didn't see it.
Oh, yeah, you're fine. Dr. Gant?
Yeah, I in looking through some of the notes with the work that the district has done. Well, first, I wanted to thank Dr. Hooker and his team for going through some of the aspects of this policy. There were, it was, I think, good to see like those areas where changes have been recommended, particularly where, our charter would allow flexibility. There were still a couple of areas that I wanted to mention here that I did not quite understand, and I guess I probably could have spoken with you, Dr. Hooker, about this, but I know we don't. Well, I think originally we meet tomorrow, but specifically about the payout, I didn't fully get that explanation there, where they talked about the 0 to 19 days payout. And then the two other areas of attention that I wanted to mention where changes were not made had to do with the education leave as well as the sick leave bank. And I was just hoping we could discuss that a little bit more, like the feedback that was added inside of our, inside of the platform.
Are you asking that we discuss this now, or are you asking that this be discussed tomorrow? You're asking for discussion now?
Yes,
Okay.
because it will, from my understanding, this is going to go, we're going to take action on this.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
And I'll refer this to Mr. Swartz to answer the question. The first question came up. You had questions about I have written here, the pay for leave.
The education leave.
Education leave.
Bank.
Well, yeah, so the first thing was where we pay out the 0 to 9, where we pay out for sick leave. I just wanted clarification on what exactly, right under PSCRS sick
Yes.
leave account, sick leave accumulation payout. The suggestion was to change 0 to 19 days to 500. So basically those individuals that had some leave would get something. And the response was that payout would result in paying employees for sick leave that they either don't have or at a greater amount than what has been accumulated. And I didn't quite understand that based on simply the number of days, like how it would equate to that.
And I will refer that to Mr. Swartz.
So for folks who are hired, they could, if this 0 to 19 days, they could be hired, then they could leave within a week, having earned no days, and then we would be required to pay them out $500, as I read in the policy, if we lowered it down to 0 to 19 days. And so we have made the concession for PSERS. The TRS number is 60 days, so that's quite an accumulation in order to get any payout. We did feel like it was helpful to lower that number for PSERS all the way down to 20, so it's a third less days that they have to accumulate in order to get that payout.
I see. And there's not a certain amount of years they have to have been with us. Can you remind me, like, to even get the PSERS?
From my understanding, I have to go back and look at the policy. It's based off of the earnings that they have
Okay.
for the days.
Okay.
And what was your second one, Dr. Gant?
Education leave bank.
Yeah, the education and sick leave bank. I guess I'm stuck here, though, because that means basically anyone that leaves the district that has between 0 and 19 days, or let's just say 20 days, that were I thought this was paid out once a person retires from the district.
I'll have to look at the policy, but as I read, I thought it was based off of when they resign. But I'll pull it up right now.
Because if that's the case, I certainly understand, you know, like, if it's just when they leave, but if it's when they retire, because I felt like when the district gave people checks, it was typically people that were retiring.
It does say resignation or retirement.
Okay. Okay. And so that may be an area, I guess, of us revisiting that. So basically, even if a person leaves with beyond, like, over 20 plus days, and if they're classified or they receive PSERS, they still get some type of payout, it sounds like.
Yes, if they resign and they have 20 plus days, they do get a payout.
Okay, I see. Okay. And yeah, so thank you for clarifying that. The other two areas had to do with the sick bank and the education leave bank. With the sick bank, the district's response was that basically in order to create and manage a sick leave bank with Fidelity, that it would take time and effort, and that we don't have the necessary staff to manage that. And I guess I was hoping for more discussion around that, because when we had a sick leave bank before, I'm curious what the difference is between the staff with HR or whoever would manage that at that time and the current staff. Like, what capacity are we talking about to be able to manage a sick leave bank effectively?
As we looked into it, it would require a new policy specifically for sick leave. You'd have to establish a committee of trustees, and then the person that would oversee that would be the leave specialist that we have now in HR. One of the challenges that we're facing in human resources is the volume of leave that we're seeing over the last couple of years. And so that position has maintained one individual to manage all of the daily absences, the FMLA, and the paid parental leave. And so I'm managing with that person an increase in volume on a regular basis. So we've seen an increase of over 500 absences on a daily, over the course of a year for that role to manage, assist with ESS, with substitutes and all of that nature, as well as a 100% increase in the paid parental leave. So the new law that went in with Georgia, we in half a year are at the same level as we were all of last year, so managing that paperwork. And then we're seeing an uptick in FMLA cases, about a 50% increase as we're tracking it. So from that perspective, to add on the management of a sick leave bank and to do that with fidelity, one of my big fears is you try to implement something like that. If you don't do that well, people have given their sick leave to that. People are trying to request leave from that. That's a time process for someone to submit all the documentation, to have a group of people review that information, and then to have that person sort of follow up with that individual. It felt, I was nervous that we would be able to do that well. And so anything that we want to roll out like that, the sensitive nature of dealing with a sick leave bank, my concerns were around the capacity of our team to sort of manage that.
And from my understanding, with HR, there was mention of substitutes, and we don't directly manage substitutes.
ESS is responsible for finding and filling the substitutes on the daily basis, but the leave specialist does work in conjunction with ESS around, and she mainly supports the individuals on our side, submitting the absences in a timely manner and ensuring that they've sort of filled out everything they need in order to get a substitute. They're the liaison between ESS and CCSD, as well as between the individual taking the leave and human resources.
Okay. Yeah, I guess my main concern is that, in particularly even given what's been shared, that if in fact we're seeing an increase in leave and a lot has happened sort of post-COVID, and we may continue to see an increase in leave, and things happen in people's lives where their leave just may not be enough, that they would have to then basically take a cut in pay when there could be an opportunity for their colleagues and for us to build sort of a culture. I'm not saying like build it tomorrow, but there really could be a culture where when a person has to be out because of some unknown medical condition, and anything can fall under there, that they can at least depend on the district. And so I would really like to see us, I think this could be just one example of ways that we can, we have a limited budget, but there are ways that we can impact the climate and culture for our colleagues, a lot of times around like leave and flexibility. And I would love to see our district exploring those things as well. And so I'm certainly appreciative of the changes that have been made, but I'm concerned that we believe that we don't, I hear that we don't have the capacity, but I'm more so concerned that it's not necessarily one of the things that we seem to be prioritizing, even with the sick leave, the whole thing. It's like, it's sort of been like a tug, and these are things that I think even our community and our colleagues and would like to see the district prioritize how we can, just make the culture better, sometimes even when we can't add more money. So.
And the last thing that you wanted to discuss was the educational leave bank?
So I didn't hear.
I believe, Dr. Gant, the last thing that you wanted to discuss was the educational leave bank?
Oh, yeah, but I saw some other microphones on, so I don't want to monopolize, but it was the similar concerns, deferring back to supervisors to work with employees. I think that can happen, but I don't think it happens all the time. And so I think that's where policy comes in. But again, these are things that I would like for us to think of, how can we put some structural things in place to create the climate that we want? So same stuff.
Ms. Davis? You had a question?
Yes, on the substitutions, what was that number that you said we're averaging? I heard 500. What was that in reference to?
We're tracking the number of absences throughout the school district each year, and we last year saw an increase of 500 absences compared to the previous year, and we are tracking on that same pace this year for the number of absences. Now, that includes all types of absences, sick leave, personal leave, FMLA, paid parental leave, all of those types of leaves. But we have seen a tick up in regards to all those categories and the number of absences that we need to fill.
And so is there a cost breakdown of those absences? Are they all paid absences to employees plus the cost of the substitutes?
Correct. We track the number of absences that need a substitute, which would then have a substitute cost associated with that, as well as the unpaid absences and the daily rate that goes along with the individual of that absence.
Is that something you could share with the board as we look at our budget for next year or this year?
Yes, we can put that together.
That would be excellent. Thank you so much.
Are there other questions, comments? Okay. I believe, did you still want to recommend that this be placed in the consent agenda, or?
Yes,
It
ma'am.
seems like there are members that are still having issues with the language in it, so it's probably going to get pulled.
That's fine. I mean,
So we might want to just keep it in the,
all right, then we'll just keep it in the
Okay.
regular thing. You know.
yes. Okay, future policies for review. Are there any policies or particular topics that you would like to bring up for policy discussion?
Madam President, I'd like to just have a conversation with you before I submit something like that, if I may.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, sure. We can talk tonight if you'd like, or separately, okay. All right, I saw no other hands. Dr. Gant?
Ms. Davis, can Ms. Davis repeat what you said we couldn't hear?
I wanted to have a conversation with the president before I bring to the table, the thoughts that I have, because there may have been prior conversations that I'm not privy to, that, would kind of maybe help me understand a little bit more what we're dealing with.
Okay,
I can tell you generally what it's about. Again, I'm concerned about our process for volunteers and having them do fingerprints and background checks for working in a concession stand. That's one that I have a concern about. And then I'm basically concerned about how do we, it's a long conversation, so why don't we have that conversation first, and maybe you can help me frame it better. Thank
Okay.
you. If you want to join us, you can, but that's fine.
all right. So we will now move to item 5, business items for discussion for the consent agenda. I'll go down the list, and if you have opposition, please be loud with that so that we can keep up with who wants what pulled. Item A, December 12th, 2024 work session and board meeting minutes. Fine. Keep on the agenda. Consent. B, personnel. All right, consent. C, district fuel contract.
Paul?
I'd like that poll, please.
All right, we're pulling C, district fuel contract. D, CMS furniture order for the health clinic and the professional learning space.
I just have a quick question about that. I don't want to necessarily pull it.
Okay.
But I've just kind of tracked mentally, and I have notes too, about the furniture contract so far. Are we under a 5-year contract with this new idea company for furniture for all of our schools? And where are we if we are in that five-year cycle?
No, we're not. We're not under contract.
So it's all bid out every time?
Well, they're state contract.
So we don't bid it out, we simply
No, it's-
choose them from the state listing to
Right.
fulfill our needs?
Correct, because they have the furniture that we buy is kind of standard since Oglethorpe. We have the same name brand of furniture, and they're one of the providers of that furniture.
Okay, have we had any purchases from any other vendor in the last 5 years, do you know?
Not for classroom type furniture. For here, like this was from Chastain's local, but for the full school, because they provide full service, they install everything, have it set up. They provide the furniture that's consistent across the district. That way we can move furniture between schools and everything stays consistent.
I remember when they came on board, and we were very impressed with that, so thank you. I was just curious if there was room for opportunities to try some other vendors.
I mean, we have looked at, like I said, the biggest thing is they're the one vendor that we know of that has the Smith System furniture set that we do use. And we've tried to stay with that same furniture package in
Great.
each and two school.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to keep that item in consent agenda, having your questions answered? Okay. All right, so that item stays. E, summer 2025 HVAC projects. All right, stays. F, EPIC special education staffing. Okay, that stays. G, CTAE computer purchase. All right, stays. Ms. Davis, question? Okay. And then H, field trips. Okay, so it looks like right now the only item being pulled is the district fuel contract. We're good? All right, and now we are moving to item 6, quick executive session. To discuss, What?
The few,
oh yeah, I guess we can talk about it.
because I have Mr. Jim Gurley here to answer any questions or concerns. Who asked that it be pulled?
A couple people did.
Okay. Question?
Ms. Davis?
Yes, I learned in another meeting that the cost of diesel had gone down. Where do we stand on that? Because it seemed like an awful lot of money. Is it per gallon? Was it?
Well, the cost of diesel usually fluctuates whenever we get a delivery, and we usually get a delivery every week, so it can fluctuate.
And so the cost in this contract is based on,
It's based on the total budgets that we estimate moving forward. It's probably a good bit more than what we may end up, but Veronica's always told me to go a little higher than what I expect.
And she probably asked that you go up a little bit higher because at times the fuel price may go up.
Right.
And you don't want to be behind and come back to the board and ask for money when you
Right.
fall
We
short.
don't know what the price will be in a year, so if it's a 3-year contract, we don't know what it'll be in a year or 2 years, and it fluctuates with every shipment.
and so again, that's not something we control at all in terms of that, but we do get a discount, right? What is our discount?
Well, for the contract we have here, the discount is actually a negative, but usually, historically, the prices between the different vendors has been just a few $1,000s. The prices don't variate that much when you talk about as many gallons. Mainly what we look at is service. If you look at the matrix, and Veronica can provide that, it's actually scored mainly through methodology and the kind of service they can provide.
Okay, and I didn't look at this contract to see if it doesn't give us any historical data, does it, in terms of like over the last 2 or 3, 5 years?
No, it's not going to
So
have
are we
anything in there.
Yeah, are we seeing an increase over those 5 years, or, I hear fluctuate, but I'm looking for a trend that tells me.
No,
how-
the trend has been going pretty steady for us. I mean, we were expecting in previous years it would spike, but it has not spiked like we thought it might, going over $3 or something like that. As far as the budget, the diesel budget is slowly dropping because we were getting more propane buses.
yeah, okay.
And so that was going up, and that is going up, but the diesel's been dropping.
Okay, and so do we have a similar contract for propane?
Yeah, propane has an individual separate contract. That's a part of the fueling system that we got for the propane because we didn't have propane tanks. So that's mixed in with that contract that they provide tanks. And we've gotten larger tanks so that we can have more fuel on site and not have the small tanks that we started with.
Just a quick question. When we see these in the budget, is this a line item in the budget for fuel purchases? I'm just curious.
Transportation has a propane line, it has a diesel line, and it has a gasoline line in our budget.
Okay, so I'll be able to go back and look at some of that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Denson, did you have questions? I think you were the other.
Yeah, and mine was really just a comment. This is just, we discussed at the Sustainability Committee, which I think might be in the minutes here coming up, about, one of the recommendations might be on EV vehicles. And so I just wanted to, just to kind of point out here that we're spending right now about $1 million in fuel. So just, having that in the back of our heads whenever we are reviewing those recommendations. That's all I wanted to bring up.
Okay. All right. Do we want to keep that item pulled or return it back to the consent agenda, having had your questions
I really would just
answered?
like to have a separate vote on it because it kind of sticks out in the future minutes.
Okay. All right, so we will keep that item off of the consent agenda, Ms. Palmer. All right, so now we will move to item 6 for executive session, and this is to discuss, I don't know what we're doing. Personnel, okay. That one is to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action, or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, or to interview applicants for the position of superintendent. Okay, I think we need a vote for that, right? Can we have a motion?
Make a motion that we go into executive session.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Evans, seconded by Ms. Davis. All in favor, raise your hand high, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are, what is it? Adjourned for executive session.
Thank you.
The time is now 7 o'clock, and it's, let's get started with our January board meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and then proceed with roll call. Dr. Hooker?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Heidi Hensley.
Here.
Ms. Mary P. Bagby. Ms. Linda Davis.
Here.
Dr. Patricia Yeager. Mr. Tim Denson.
Here.
Dr. Mumby Anderson.
Here.
Dr. Lakeisha Gant.
Here.
Ms. Nicole Hull.
Here.
Mr. Mark Evans.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum, and we can proceed with the agenda. Our next item is our silent meditation and Pledge of Allegiance. We'll start with silent meditation, and the Pledge of Allegiance will start with the flag in front to your left. And if everyone can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will now move to item 4, everyone's favorite, and why everyone in the audience is here, I'm sure, our recognition and awards with Dr. Moore as our presenter.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Anderson, Dr. Hooker. Good evening, board members. We have a few recognitions tonight, as you can see from our audience. And we'll get started first with recognizing a very special group of talented students from all grade levels across our district. Do we have the slideshow? As you may recall, this past November, we announced the winners of our annual Martin Luther King Jr. Art and Writing Contest, designed to engage students in grades K through 12 with the ideas and legacies of Dr. King through works of art and writing with a common theme. This year's theme was the power of peace. Students at each school made entries, and schools submitted them to the district office to be reviewed by a panel of judges. We have 31 students who won first, second, or third place, or received honorable mention across 4 divisions for both art and writing. Those divisions were K-2, 3 through 5, middle school, and high school. You may have noticed these works on display in the lobby on your way in this evening, and we want to invite you and encourage everyone to take a look on your way out. These students will also be featured in a special video that will premiere tomorrow morning at the annual UGA MLK Freedom Breakfast and will then be published on CCSD's YouTube channel, Facebook page, and in our newsletter. So be on the lookout for that. It's a really great one, so you don't want to miss it. We think you're really going to enjoy it. Now, we're pleased to be joined tonight by several of our winners. So at this time, I'll ask Mr. Dan Smith, CCSD Fine Arts, PE and Health Curriculum Coordinator, and Dr. Jennifer Scott, Deputy Superintendent of Academics and Student Support, to come up to the stage and get ready to pass out these certificates. Now, students, as I call your name, you'll just make your way to the stage, go up to the front. Mr. Smith and Dr. Scott will give you your certificate, we'll take your picture, and then you'll stay up there until everybody gets their certificate, and then we'll take a group picture, okay? All right, I want to tell you before we get started that one of the most profound pieces that was part of this collection and was a winner, a first place winner, came from a kindergartner. And the kindergartner said this, in phonetic spelling and his own handwriting, "Peace is so important. There's a word for it in every language." And it made me cry, and it might make me cry again. Think about that, out of the mouths of babes, right? So at this time, we'll start off with our high school art winners. Again, if you are here as I call your name, please come up to get your certificate. First place in art at the high school level, we have Dashiell Henderson, 10th grade, Clark Central High School. There we go. In second place, Fallon Martin, 12th grade, Classic City High School. And parents, if you want to take pictures, you are welcome to do so. This is your child's moment, so have at it. Third place, Kaylin McLean, 11th grade, Cedar Shoals High School. And finally, honorable mention, Darius Eberhardt, 10th grade, CCSD Learning Center. We'll now be joined by our high school writing winners. First place, Kevin Kapcha, 12th grade, Clark Central High School. In second place, Kenya Gonzalez Chavez, 9th grade, Cedar Shoals High School. And in third place, Jemiah Hill, 10th grade, CCSD Learning Center. Our middle school art winners, first place, Mary Jane Okoli, 7th grade, BHL Middle School. In second place, Sally Marr, 7th grade, Clark Middle School. Third place, Ariane Silverio Alvarez, 7th grade, Hillsman Middle School. An honorable mention, Kimberly Trigueros, 8th grade, Coyle Middle School. Our 3 through 5 art winners tonight. Our first place, Ruby Smothers, 4th grade, Gaines Elementary. In second place, Aiden Patton, 5th grade, Whit Davis Elementary School. In third place, Carmelo Seguero, 5th grade, Timothy Road Elementary School. And we'd also like to note that Carmelo's piece was also selected to be featured on the annual Athens MLK Day of Service t-shirt to be issued to all those participating in MLK's Day On instead of a day off on Monday. So congratulations for that, Carmelo. And honorable mention, Harmony Wise, 4th grade, Johnny Lay Burks Elementary School. And we're going to go back because, as Mr. Thompson pointed out, I skipped a whole section. So middle schoolers, I'm coming back for you. Middle school writing winners, first place, Jessie Salas Estrada, 8th grade, Hillsman Middle School. Second place, Malia Gates, 7th grade, BHL Middle School. Third place, Olivia Tremble, 8th grade, Clark Middle School. An honorable mention, Kimberly Trigueros, 8th grade, Coyle. Seems like I called her. Did I? Hey, there's a lot of names here. I'm sorry, guys. All right, now let's move on to our 3rd through 5th writing winners. First place, Demarion Carter, 5th grade, Howard B. Stroud Elementary School. Ilona Vecos, 4th grade, Timothy Road Elementary School. Third place, Olivia Morse, 3rd grade, Fowler Drive Elementary School. An honorable mention, Riley Hughes, 5th grade, Barnett Shoals Elementary School. Now, K2 art winners, I'll ask at this time, first place, Cecilia Breña Munoz, 2nd grade, Barnett Shoals Elementary School, to come up. Second place, Harper Swinford, 2nd grade, Timothy Road Elementary School. Third place, Aiden Tappan, 2nd grade, Whit Davis Elementary School. An honorable mention, Nada Garib, kindergarten, Barrow Elementary School. And finally, our K2 writing winners. First place, Leo Finlay, kindergarten, Johnny Lay Burks Elementary School. Second place, Kinji Funato, 2nd grade, Timothy Road Elementary School. Third place, Declan Allen, 2nd grade, Cleveland Road Elementary School. And honorable mention, Julian Cruz Flores, 1st grade, Oglethorpe Avenue Elementary School. Okay, now at this time we're going to take a group picture, so I'll ask you all to squeeze together just a little bit, and Dr. Scott, if you'll get on one end and Mr. Smith on the other, and we'll let parents come on up, take as many pictures as you want. I still talk about the award I won in 4th grade, so this is good. It's true. Oh, is that where I read the wrong one? Let me go back. Thank you all. I am obviously having an off night tonight, but I appreciate your help. Honorable mention for middle school art. Sarah Brandenburg, 6th grade, Coyle Middle School. Is Sarah up there? Let's wait for Sarah to get up there. My apologies. Now, if there are any students who came in after we began reading, you come on up too. Now, everybody look this way and smile, because you're going to use this one day when you win big awards as a grown-up. Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Now, let's give these students and their parents and all my helpers a special round of applause and a huge thank you to our school-level MLK winners. At this time, we'll take one more picture, and I'd like the board to come on down and stand with our students. And then you can go back to your seats, but not quite yet, okay? So board, if you'll make your way down. And just kind of fill in behind them. All right, can we see everybody? Let's wait 1 second. There we go.
Yep, I got them all.
All right.
All right, everybody looking here on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. You may all go back to your seats. Thank you. Now, If there are school representatives here for children who were unable to be here, if you will pick those up from Mr. Smith over there. And ladies and gentlemen, our winners, we have ribbons for you. We'll send those back to your school with your artwork when the exhibition is taken down. You all are free to leave, or you certainly may stay for the rest of the meeting as well. Next tonight, we'd like to recognize our Employee of the Month for January. Our Employee of the Month this month is Miss Sarah Waller-Price, Band Director at Coyle Middle School. And I'd like to ask Miss Waller-Price to come up to the stage at this time. Thank you. Stand up there. Now, Ms. Waller-Price, you just stand up there, and I'm going to talk about you for a few minutes, and it might be a little uncomfortable, okay? Ms. Waller-Price is in her second year at Coyle and has been credited by school administration for completely revitalizing the band program in just 2 years, leading students to exceptional musical achievements. They say her dedication and passion for music have created invaluable experiences that will have a lasting impact on her students. You can tell right away when you enter the band room that her students are eager to learn and grow as musicians, as we witnessed just this week when we surprised her with this award. They did not stop playing because she told them they had 30 more seconds. And they played beautifully. Ms. Waller-Price was nominated for this award by 2 parents who spoke about the strides the Coyle Band program has made under her leadership. One parent who submitted her nomination right after attending the winter concert last month remarked about the excellent performances in the gym overflowing with enthusiastic and supportive parents and school staff, and wrote about Ms. Waller-Price's encouragement and support of her son, who is in 8th grade. Here is part of that nomination. Tonight, the students were brimming with pride after their performance, and the families were amazed at the transformation the band has made in these few short years. Ms. Waller-Price also helps students that want to try out for District Honor Band on an individual level. For the past 2 years, she has stayed after school numerous times to help my son and other participants hone their audition skills and prepare for a stressful audition. I am certain my son would not have made the cut for District Honor Band without her encouragement and patience. Ms. Waller-Price has nurtured a love for music and pride and accomplishment that will follow these students for years to come. The Coyle community is lucky to have such a wonderful band teacher. The other parent who submitted a nomination added, Ms. Waller-Price is the kind of teacher you dream of having at your child's school. Ms. Waller-Price is serious about band, discipline, and effort. She develops relationships with the students, and they respond to the energy she brings to her role. I can clearly see how her encouragement, support, and recognition has impacted my students and others in the band. We are lucky to have her at Coyle Middle School. Those are great words for a great teacher. Thank you for everything you do. Now, please join me in congratulating our Employee of the Month, Sarah Waller-Price. Stand right there. Let's take a picture. Now, while we get some pictures, that's full of prizes for you. We want to thank the Athens Area Chamber of Commerce for their continued partnership in our Employee of the Month program and for supplying the Employee of the Month gift bag each month with numerous gifts from local businesses. Thank you, Ms. Waller-Price, for all you do. You two are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or you may go home and go through your gift bag. And as a reminder, we again want to encourage everyone in our community to nominate any full-time CCSD employee with at least 1 year of service for this award, and you can use that link. Thank you so much. Next tonight, we have a special recently retired CCSD employee to recognize. Mr. Curtis Epps, if you're in the audience, please come on up. And I'm going to ask Mr. Schwartz to make his way to the stage, and Mr. Hooker, Dr. Hooker, sorry. Gosh, I am just not myself today. It made me cry and it threw me off. As you may remember, over the last couple of years, we have occasionally recognized CCSD employees who retire with at least 10 years of service to the district but are not eligible for TRS benefits and are under the PSERS system. We issue a payout to them for any unused sick leave. We are pleased tonight to recognize Mr. Epps, who dedicated 40 years of his life to Plant Services Department at CCSD. That earned him a payout, because you obviously didn't take many days off, of the maximum amount of $6,750. Congratulations on that, but more importantly, thank you for your dedication and hard work for CCSD. We appreciate you and congratulate you on your retirement. And I hate to, wait right there. I hate to make you all do it, but I think 40 years deserves a picture, right? So come on up. All right, look this way at Mr. Thompson. There we go.
On three. 1, 2, 3.
Wonderful. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Epps. We appreciate you. Now, finally, tonight, we'd like to recognize one of our schools for being among the Title I schools in the state, making the most significant strides in overall student achievement. At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Donna Elder, to come up. And Dr. Hooker, I'm going to have to make you exercise one more time. And we'd like at this time to invite Mr. Cedric Payne, principal at Timothy Road Elementary School, to come to the stage. Ms. Brown? Now, last week, the Georgia Department of Education released its 2024 list of Title I reward schools, and Timothy Road Elementary School made that list. Title I reward schools are Title I schools that rank in the top 5% in terms of making the most progress of improving the performance of all student subgroups by comparing content mastery scores from the 2022 and 2023 reported data on statewide assessments. Timothy Road showed a nearly 12-point gain in its overall content mastery score from 2021-22 school year to the 22-23 school year, and increased its content mastery score by almost a full other point during the 23-24 school year, so constant improvement. We are proud of our Roadrunner students and the work of Mr. Payne and his talented staff and team of teachers. They are putting in the time, effort, and commitment to academic excellence, and their dedication to ensuring every student reaches their full potential is being recognized tonight. Thank you for that and for all you do. This time, you'll see we're honoring Timothy Road with a certificate that's signed by State Superintendent Richard Woods and a plaque sign to put in your school. So thank you very much for all you do, and congratulations on this achievement. Okay, got it. You may be seated. Thank you very much. And this concludes our recognitions for January. I will now turn it back over to you, Dr. Anderson, for any recognitions that you and the board might wish to share this evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Moore, and congratulations everyone who's still here on these wonderful accomplishments. And as always, this is literally the best part of every month of our meetings. Does the board have any recognitions or honors or accolades they'd like to shout out? Okay. It's Dr. Gant.
More of an announcement and a welcome, but an official welcome to Ms. Bagby, who is serving with us. I know we already had one public meeting, but this is our first official business meeting, and so wanted to welcome you, Ms. Bagby, to our governance team.
All right. Are there any other accolades, recognitions? Okay. We will now move to item Well, we have item 5, public comment, but I do not believe we have any public comment for tonight. So we'll move to item 6, adoption of the agenda as presented.
I move we adopt the agenda. Second.
All right, motion made by Ms. Hall and seconded by Ms. Davis?
No, Ms. Hensley.
Ms. Hensley, okay. Made by Ms. Hall, seconded by Ms. Hensley. Made by Ms. Hensley, seconded by Ms. Hall. Thank you so much, y'all. All in favor, raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. The agenda moves forward as presented. Item 7, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Hooker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few recognitions today. Congratulations to the students, writers, and artists for their award-winning MLK work. That work is on display in our lobby, so please stop by on your way out to take a look at the talent on the display. Congratulations as well to our January Employee of the Month, Ms. Sarah Waller-Price from Coyle Middle School. Also, congratulations to Mr. Curtis Epps on his retirement, and thanks for his 40 years of service to CCSD. I also like to formally welcome Ms. Mary P. Bagby to our board as the District 2 representative, as well to welcome back Dr. Mombi Anderson, Dr. Patricia Yeager, and Ms. Nicole Hull. We have a busy weekend this weekend ahead of us, starting with tomorrow with UGA's MLK Freedom Breakfast tomorrow, where we will debut our annual MLK video featuring this year's contest winners. A number of our students from Clark Central and Cedar Shoals will be awarded scholarships on Saturday evening at the Athens Human Relations Council Award Banquet. There is no school on Monday, January the 20th, in observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day, but many of our schools and employees will be spending the day working in service to our community at projects throughout Athens' MLK Day of Service. We also have the following events to look forward to in January. District Spelling Bee, Friday, January the 24th in the Vernon Payne Meeting Hall. And then we have our Science and Engineering Fair that will take place Saturday, January the 25th at Clark Middle School. And that concludes our comments for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Hooker. And I look forward to seeing some of y'all, I guess, tomorrow morning bright and early. And Ms. Davis, thank you so much for going on behalf of the board to Saturday's Human Relations Award Banquet. All right, we will now move forward with item 8, our consent agenda. We've got, A through G to vote on. Can I get a motion?
I move that we accept the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, motion made by Ms. Hull, seconded by Mr. Denson. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes, I believe, unanimously. What? Ms. Bagby, did you want to vote, or? Okay, so no vote. Is that allowed?
That's an abstainment.
That's an abstain? Okay, all right, okay. So we have one abstention and, but that motion carries. All right, now for item 9, the financial report and approval. Mr. Grine? Ner?
Let's see, I think we're still on. Yep. Yep, there we go. All right, you have before you the financials as of November 30th. Our actual revenues were $14.8 million roughly. This was about $20 million less than what we budgeted, but if you remember when I spoke last month, that our tax receipts actually came in a little bit quicker. It's always kind of a guessing game with our tax receipts. How much we get in October and how much we get in November, so we got that money a little quicker in October. So if you look at year-to-date, we're still actually ahead $1.9 million. So that's kind of what I would use as a gauge there. Actual expenditures, $20.5 million roughly. We were a little bit over budget about $1 million, but that's just some timing differences. For the year, we're actually still less than budgeted, about 1.3 million. And our general fund balance at the end of November, keeping in mind we're at the highest levels we'll be all year, was about 124.5 million. We had budgeted around 121.3, but the differences I just mentioned make up that $3.2 million difference. We're still tracking to a fund balance ending of around 53 to 54 million, somewhere in that range. So, and I'll be happy to answer any questions y'all might have.
All right, does anyone have any
I
questions?
feel guilty not asking a question, but I really don't have one. The numbers are certainly understandable, but we've heard some comments recently about, you know, what happens when we max out on being able to earn more money from, especially like property taxes, things that go into the general fund. Do we have contingency plans already in place, or are we looking at those contingency plans?
I think as we go through the budget process this year and probably even next year, Ms. Davis, we need to definitely look at our fund balance, keep it in mind. We have around 21% right now. The old standard was 15%. We talked about that last year as we created this budget. That 15% was based on the funding formula hasn't changed since 1985. We continue to see what we call unfunded mandates from the state. The governor laid out his budget today. Classified health insurance is going up to $1,885 per member per month. For us, that's an increase in the FY26 budget of about $3.4 million. And that money will have to come, that's all funded through local property taxes. We do receive money from the state for certified health insurance, but we do not for classified.
So that has constantly been an increase, I think, since I've been on the board. So it goes up maybe, what, 2 or 3% every year?
Yeah, there were a couple of years that did. When I first started doing this in 2011, I think we were classified was in the low 100s. So it's went from about $145, $150 up to the $1,885 presently. It's really been on a faster trajectory the last several years. What the state does, from what I understand, is they have actuarial calculations done on the health insurance plan, and we're basically funding that forward is what we're doing. And fortunately for our employees, their cost remains low. It's kind of funding the current portion, but we're having to fund that piece that's going out into the future.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Are there other questions? Yes, Mr. Evans?
Mr. Greiner, I need you to put on your Karnak hat for a second. We need to look in the future here. I'm concerned about what our budget's going to look like come August, when we start having parents taking advantage of the voucher system.
Yes, sir.
Have you guys started thinking about that? And you know, do we have some contingencies out there that maybe you could talk to the board about, so that way, you know, when we get that sticker shock, it won't be as bad?
Yes, sir. And I think, and I'll let Dr. Hooker chime in if he wants on this as well. I think we're still waiting for guidance from the state, really. I think they came out with some initial, like, what's considered, you know, an eligible school, and then they've kind of, I think it affected more than they thought, and they've kind of, GOSA kind of came out, and then I think they backtracked a little bit, so it's been a little bit confusing. I do know, you know, the governor in his budget today did approve establishing that fund. I mean, he put a pretty large amount. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was, you know, over $100 million into that fund. Dr. Hooker and I have talked about it. It's actually one thing I thought about adding to our next public hearing too. I did not have that on there the other night. Stuff to consider in the future is how that's going to how it will affect our funding. I think it's hard to put a number on it right now, but it's something we're going to continue to work on. So it is definitely on the radar. I think it's just hard to quantify right now.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, if we could do that for the next meeting, I think that would be very helpful for the public to understand that, you know, we're not just talking about HB 581. We also have to project out
right
for this, you know, what could be a massive drain.
Right.
So thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Are there other questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Greiner.
All right. Thank y'all.
All right. I need to put a motion on, somebody needs to put a motion on the floor to approve the budget, right?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the financial report as written.
Second?
All right, motion has been made by Mr. Evans to approve the financial report, seconded by Ms. Davis. All in favor, raise your hand high, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes. Now we've got two individual action items for discussion. The first is the district fuel contract. First, we need a motion.
I move that we approve the district fuel contract as presented.
I'll second.
All right, motion made by Ms. Davis, seconded by Ms. Hensley. Now the floor is open for questions, comments, concerns. Ms. Davis, would you like to start as the motion maker?
I think in the work session, we definitely spoke to the additional information that we would like about the history of the diesel purchases, and then maybe a projection into the future of what it looks like as we transition to other sources of energy for our buses. And so I think having had that discussion, and I heard no objection to the request, then I'm quite satisfied.
Okay. All right, so I think that will close the discussion, and if we're ready to vote. Okay. All in favor of approving district fuel contract, raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes, and there's one abstention, I believe. Yes, okay. All right. Next item is policy GBRH, the professional personnel leave and absences. And this is an action item to approve the revisions as presented. So first we need a motion. Any motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept policy GBRH as it has been written.
Second.
All right, motion made by Mr. Evans, seconded by Ms. Hull. The floor is open for discussion. Mr. Evans, would you like to start?
Just very briefly, I appreciate the hard work that that staff has put in on this. It's been a little bit of time, and we do appreciate it. And I agree with some of the things that Dr. Gant said. I think I think we need to approve this so that way we have it, so that way we can go. But I think that this is a conversation that we need to continue to have, because recruitment and retention of teachers is going to become very important very soon. And this is one way to ensure that. So thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Other comments? Dr. Gant?
Yes, just agreeing with Dr. Evans, I do plan to support this. I do, just for the record, want to just strongly encourage us to take even another look at this, before, I would say even maybe before the school year or next year. I know we have teacher advisory. From the notes, we have the teacher advisory. This was taken before the teacher advisory board, from I think what I read. But I really think there are some opportunities around climate and culture that we are just not going to be able to fix with money. There's a ceiling at some point. And so I would really like to see us, particularly as we move into the budget season, because I think at that time as well, we'll be talking about what's really needed, trying to project where we're going. Hopefully departments are going through their own budgets with a fine-tooth comb to see what is actually necessary, and what do we need more of and what do we need less of. And if this is something that is like a personnel issue, or if it's a matter of just sort of combing through and restructuring, I don't know. I know that's operations, but I really would like to see some more work put towards our education leave as well as our sick bank, because I do not see leave being something that is going to decrease over time with the trends that we're seeing. So.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions? I'll just put in my 2 cents, since I will be supporting it. I do support Dr. Gant and Dr. Evans' statements. I think as we approach the budget season, it would be worth an investigation of seeing what it looks like from a personnel perspective to add the sick leave bank. I do understand, educational leave is adding a little bit more of the paid sort of component of having, personnel who are absent but then being paid to be there. But I don't see a negative financial burden on having a bank. But I do see where the HR staff may be overburdened. So during our budget discussions, I think that is a space where we could possibly work with the district and the board to explore some options for having a sick leave bank. But yeah, so those are my comments, but I do plan on supporting this as well. All right, so we've got a motion on the floor and a second. Are we ready to vote? Okay, all in favor of policy GBRH, raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes with one abstention, 7-1. And now we are at our facility updates. Do we have a facility update? Okay, Dr. Askew.
Good evening. Just a few brief updates. Okay, just a few brief updates. Some projects that we finished over the break. First, intercoms. We've got
And then upcoming projects, and this is kind of switch over to transportation. So there's been a big push across Georgia to decrease the number of bus stop arms that are run each day. There was some data the state put out back in October, and that number statewide just in one day was in the thousands. So one of the things we're doing to combat that here in Clark County is we are piloting a bus stop arm project. So we're putting the cameras on our stop arms. On 10 buses, we're going to pilot the first. And so that'll give us the ability, because we do have some of that takes place here in Clark County. We run the stop signs on our buses. And that'll give us the ability to record those license plate numbers and do ticketing with those in enforcement. So we're excited about that. We're starting small. If the pilot is successful, then we're going to expand it. Some of the key areas that we're targeting, and just make it public information: Commerce Road, Hammondsville Road, Cedar Shoals Drive, Rick Davis Road, Lexington Road, Delta Homes, and Summerwood. And that's not all areas, but that's where we're starting, because those have been problem areas. So we're excited about that as well. Our kids safe. And then finally, just continuing messages. We did some training along with the other divisions for the principals on last week. And one of our big messages to teachers is just to continue to keep your doors locked. That's our first line of defense in keeping our kids in our schools safe. That's just a reminder for everyone to keep the doors locked. And that brings me to questions. Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Okay, any questions? Ms. Davis?
I don't have to go first. I think it was.
I didn't see
I'm
yours
happy to.
first.
I'll go first. So, on the cameras, on the buses, when we implemented, I thought we did this already. Are these buses that are added to the fleet, and we didn't do that when they were initially added?
So to your point, it was something that was done in conjunction with the city in previous years, and it just kind of died off. The program, the city stopped the enforcement of the ticketing, and it was something that just kind of got phased out. But we're bringing it back because it's important for the safety.
So the cameras were removed when when the city stopped enforcing it? Because wasn't it sending, I mean, the whole purpose of accepting this whole thing with the camera thing was that it would automatically record and send those notices. And I know a few people that got them, so I mean, and they weren't happy, but that's okay. $300 to ignore it, that was a good number. So we took them off, and now we put them back?
To my knowledge, there are no buses outside of the 10 that we're about to install, well, not about to, we have installed cameras on, that have cameras in the district. So it all went defunct, and that buses got phased out, those cameras. And they weren't on the whole fleet to begin with, in mind.
Ms. Hall and Mr. Denson, I think you had questions, and then we'll come back to you, Ms. Davis.
In reference to the HVAC renovation at Gaines, can you clarify, does that mean that the kindergarten wing, the library, everybody has air and heat that doesn't have to be wheeled into the classroom and wheeled out?
The whole building, absolutely. The whole set building itself has been replaced. Now, to your point, if an individual classroom breaks down, then yes, we do have mobile units available, but the whole purpose of the wholesale renovation is so that we don't have whole buildings go down.
So we don't have the whole building anymore?
Right. Thank God. You might get a classroom here or there.
Okay.
But it's nothing like having 50 or 60 classrooms down. We don't want to live that nightmare anymore.
Thank you.
And Mr. Denson, I think you had a question?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. My recollection with the cameras, what was done before with the county was that they were the school zones, not on the buses, and they got phased out because there was a lot of successful lawsuits from the automatic ticketing company, so they shut it down. And that was my question is, have we looked, I know that there's been legislation pre-filed with the state to outlaw, get rid of these programs with the automatic ticketing with the cameras, and for the session just started. So I guess I would want us to make sure we're following that legislation so we're not investing a bunch into this camera technology that is going to therefore be obsolete because it's been outlawed by the state. But, yeah.
Which is why we're starting small, and actually, a lot of the information we've been given, there is great support for it. So I think it's something that's kind of running the cycle.
Okay. And Dr. Gant, did you have a question? Okay.
I was wondering with the transportation and with like the areas that will be tested, so a couple of points of clarification. The camera will be on the bus in those areas, right? Like on the, and then I know you mentioned that there was a good bit of support for it and just information out there as far as how helpful it can be and that these are problem areas. What was used to determine these areas?
Reports from drivers.
From like drivers like on that area, or like, I know like with transportation, do you all like get a lot of reports from?
Our school bus drivers, exactly. They
Okay.
you know, when they're out on the routes and they come back and they say, hey, you know, this morning I was over in such and such neighborhood and this guy was right by me.
Okay.
Those things we report to our school police as well.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think it could be helpful, and I don't know what this really means because I don't know if it'll eventually be like a budget item. Maybe it's already like in the working, but just sort of, I'm just thinking out loud, but like, you know, with surveillance and like how we choose the areas that we're going to put these cameras, and then particularly if a ticket is going to come, I'm not arguing that people don't need tickets for going, not stopping at stops. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like being sure that certain areas are not being targeted and being sure that we have, you know, some type of firm data we can stand on outside, like in addition to like the reports, and that we're looking at that across Athens so that, you know, the poorer areas in these particular parts of the city, it just doesn't create this extra surveillance, extra ticket, extra cost, extra, you know, involvement with the legal system.
Understood, and again, that wasn't the purpose or intent going into it. It's strictly right now based on the data we've gathered from the drivers in terms of where we're having the most issues with people running the bus stops.
Okay. Ms. Bagby, did you have a question, I believe? Here. Okay.
I wanted to ask you, have they started giving tickets since you put these new cameras in? Are they
Just started this week. They're on the road. Maybe this morning was the first day. So just got started.
And do you have cameras inside the bus for misbehavior of the students as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Denson?
Yeah, Mr. Rescue, I guess my question is how is the ticketing working? I understand the camera grabs, I'm guessing, a picture of the driver and a picture of the license plate. Is it a mail-in service where then we are working with a company that's mailing the citation to them? Yeah.
Okay. And Ms. Davis, I'm circling back to you because I feel like you still had a couple of questions when you ended. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. We can finish this conversation up. Ms. Davis, did you want to finish your questions? Okay. All right. And Ms. Hensley, is this related to this presentation? No. Not this presentation at all?
No.
Oh, okay. So.
Totally random. But I have a question. I can wait. I can email.
Okay. All right. Has everyone addressed the questions that they have for the facilities update? Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Askew. Okay, we are now at item 13, our information items in our
No,
board.
12, SPLOST, and Mr.
What?
Troy is filling in for Mr. John Gilbert.
Oh, sorry. I keep missing the SPLOST. Every month I do this. The SPLOST monthly report. Mr. Gilbreth?
Troy.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Troy, and I apologize, and I should have said this to Dr. Askew. Could you turn that mic on? I'm receiving texts from audience people who cannot hear.
Is it on?
Yes, I
Hey,
apologize.
First site, Clark Middle, we should be finished with that building on the middle of next month. Furniture is being installed this week in the admin area. The security controls at the front entrance are being moved into the new office next week. The health center is moving into the building on the 28th of this month. and then they should be finished with the glass panels on both ends of the gym middle of next month. So all the admin folks should be able to start moving in after the February break, Clark Middle. And then at that point, it's just punch list items. The building should be 100% complete. Cedar Shoals, we moved the ninth grade in from the modulars over the Christmas break. We also installed new furniture in all 4 classroom wings and the cafeteria over Christmas break. And then the ROTC, the fine arts, theater, and drama teachers side of the fine arts building moved into the modulars. The ROTC instructors moved into the modulars, and the health teachers moved into the modulars. So we're starting on the old gym, the health classrooms, the drama classrooms, and the auto shop started renovations over the Christmas break out there. Let's see, Gaines Elementary, we have our first local building committee meeting on January 22nd at 6 o'clock. We've already met with the school a few times, so we've got a basic plan on what they want as far as new classroom space. But the next meeting will be to meet with parents, all the staff, I mean, basically any community member that wants to come and see what we're going to do at Gaines Elementary. We should be starting that renovation project this summer. Then following up on the facilities report, we're starting those 5 HVAC projects next summer. One correction on the Timothy, we are actually doing the barred units there next summer. It's only 9 units, so we think we can get that done over the summer. So all of their units will be done. Winterville's a little different because 90% of the school is barred units. We don't have time. That will have to wait until the next full renovation to get all the barred units, but we'll get everything else done in that building over the summer that's not part of that. District Services Building, we've already installed the pad for the new warehouse expansion. We've got the plans, meeting with the contractor, so we'll be starting that project this month. And so that's kind of the overview of what we've got going on. Any questions?
Are there any questions from the board? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Okay. And now we are at item 13, information items and board community reports. First up is Early Head Start Policy Council meeting minutes and reports. Mr. Denson, have you been attending those meetings still?
Yes, ma'am, I have. The report that's in front of us here is the one from October. It was basically the main things were some personnel additions, which this board already approved.
Okay. All right, thank you. And up next is our Community Oversight Committee report. And Ms. Davis, I believe you've been attending those meetings?
Yes, I have, and we met this week as well. It was a great meeting. I think we had some very excellent information shared with the Oversight Committee about the purchase of the electric buses, and so that was very, very well received. I have no further comments on that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Davis. And last, we have our Sustainability Committee. Mr. Denson, you attend those meetings. Would you like to speak for Dr. Yeager, who can't be here tonight?
Yes, ma'am. Right now, we are working in our subgroups to finalize our recommendations, and we are working on a timeline where we are hoping to have everything wrapped up and actually have a presentation to this board by April 10th, I believe, is the timeline we're trying to get on, and I think we're doing pretty good on that timeline, so.
Okay. And I believe March or April was when the board had decided that this needed to be wrapped up. So I think April is like that.
Yeah, so I believe March is our last full meeting. Planning on meeting April just to basically kind of almost present the recommendations to the Sustainability Committee and then doing the same thing to this board on April 10th, yeah.
All right, perfect. Okay, that is our last. Oh, yes, Ms. Bagby?
I have a question concerning.
Ma'am, can you speak into the mic, please?
Yes. I have a question concerning the Early Head Start and the Head Start policy. were we supposed to ask this lady, Angie Moon, questions? Because I wanted to know, why do they have to have a lottery? And every student can't go to Head Start because they have to pull these lottery tickets, and I didn't understand that, so.
I will ask, pardon me, Madam Chair, I ask Dr. Scott to speak to the lottery piece, and then Mr. Denton, if you would, chime in on your behalf when it comes to the lottery for pre-K. It's not lottery tickets, but will you explain that in detail, please?
So within the pre-K system, there's a lottery because families do have an option to identify their choice, first, second, and third choice of enrollment, but there's not always space at the schools for all of the parents that are selecting those particular schools. And so there's a lottery in place to select those who would get the spaces available at each school. With that being said, if a parent does not get their first choice, then they can be put on a wait list should a space open up, but that doesn't mean that they don't get a space at all within our pre-K program. They may be placed at their second or third choice when it comes to pre-K.
So is it, if the person doesn't have a choice, does that child still get to go to school anyway? Because the way there is, seems that they pull lottery tickets and the first come, first serve, and then some children are not going to be able to go to school. Is that right?
Within the pre-K program, if we have the space available, then every child would be able to be a part of the pre-K. There's limited seats within pre-K. And so with that, if we have more people submitting applications to enroll their child in pre-K than the spaces we have available, then there's the possibility that there are people within our community who want their kid in pre-K that don't have a space simply because we've hit our max.
So it doesn't have anything to do with money? Or does it have to do with money or availability of a place for the children to be taught?
Availability of space as far as our classrooms, the number of pre-K classrooms that we have available in our district. And so I don't know that we've had any pre-K student, and I'll have to check this, but that has not been offered a space. It may not have been at their preferred location, but a space has been offered. And so some have opted not to enroll in the non-preferred location and to remain on that wait list to see if they can get a spot in their preferred location.
But their deadline is in February?
To submit the application, yes.
Thank you.
But if anyone comes after that deadline, then they can always submit. That's just the deadline for the initial enrollment. If anyone comes into our county or moves into our county and they want to enroll their child in pre-K, if the space is available, they can after February.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Does that conclude the questions? Mr. Denson?
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to clarify, I believe that with early Head Start, that there are children currently on the wait list, that there's not enough capacities. Just for Head Start, I believe that there isn't, but early Head Start, I think there is some children waiting. So.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? Fantastic. So now we are at item 14, adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Davis, seconded by Ms. Hensley, and all in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that one was unanimous. Adjournment. Thank you, everybody. See you next